Hey everyone, Paul SM. Welcome to part 1 of our Hobby Design 124th Liberty Works Lamborghini Aventador 2.0, I think it is. It is 2.0 Gulf Lamborghini. So this was a gift very kindly given to me by a friend, Brian Windmill. I'm only joking, Brian. A while back, very, very generous gift. Thank you, buddy. Absolutely immense present. And he's been eager for me to build it for some time. After enjoying that Singer Porsche, I thought, you know what? I'm going to build it. I've added a few more of these to the stash. I bought another 2 recently, so we've got 5 in the stash at the minute. And supposedly some on the way from Alpha Models themselves, which hopefully we'll see in the post soon. So this is a phenomenal looking scheme. This has been my desktop screensavers on my monitors for the past 6 months or so. Absolutely beautiful looking car. I knew it was going to be a tricky build, and it is going to be a tricky build. Loads of carbon, which we'll talk about in the video, and lots of complex shapes. And this thing is massive. Compared to the Porsche, this is a huge car. Now, I made a mistake of thinking I reviewed this before I started it, and then I remembered I didn't review it. It was a Mclaren I reviewed. I went through it on a bench update. So somewhere back in ye old days, and one of the bench updates is a quick look through the box of this thing. If I had have realised, I would have just done a review. But I'm an idiot, which is a theme today. And I didn't. So apologies for those that haven't looked through. It's par for the course of the Porsche and the Mclaren reviewed. Beautiful resin body, beautiful resin bits, photo etch, acetate window, so on and so forth. So it's a much of a much really, but what a great looking kit and a great looking car as well. So we're going to get this to 2K today. We have got a lot of work. This is 15 hours of footage, 145 gigabytes of footage this was. That's a lot to condense this down to what it is. And most of it was carbon decal on it. I'm not going to lie, to show it in the Porsche, I thought, I can't be bothered. Anyway, let's go on with the video. If you're watching this on the International Scale Modeler channel, you're watching this 2 weeks after it originally came out. If you want early access to my videos, there's a Patreon link down below. If you Patreon me on tier 2 or higher, you will get 2 weeks early release on all the videos, and you get to watch them 2 weeks before everybody else. If you don't want to, perfectly fine. They will appear here after that 2 weeks is up. So if you want to watch an early release, the link for Patreon is down below. Let's get cracking with the build. Right, okay, so as I said, I made a mistake on this, thought I'd reviewed it, and I actually hadn't. So my bad, but typical resin Hobby Design Alpha Models kit, very similar to the Porsche we just did. So resin body shell, really well cast, really nice, and lots of other resin bits. Now the difference on this one, because of the body kit on the LB Works, all these little holes need to be drilled out. If you give it a second, it will focus. With a 0.3mm drill bit, and there is rivets to go in after we clear coated. So we need to drill it now, get it all painted, decaled and everything cleared, and then when the clear coat's dry, re-drill the holes in preparation for these 72 rivets that need putting in place. Now I didn't have a drill bit. These rivets are tiny. That is them there. Look at that. That line's a millimetre line. So it just shows you how small they actually are. So Alan very kindly lent me some of his. I went over and picked them up, and here we are, my TAMIYA pin vise, and we're going to gently and cautiously drill 72 very, very small holes into the body. Now, I've got it at a slight angle just to make sure I don't slip and miss everything. It won't make much of a difference to the rivet because it'll still look exactly the same when it's in. It just made my life look a little bit easier to do. Now, fairly straightforward to do. Just be careful. You don't want to snap the drill bit. You don't want to slip and scratch the body. So very little pressure, no lateral pressure, and don't be forcing a drill bit in. I've got my TAMIYA pin vise, which is a really high quality pin vise. Not applying a lot of pressure and just really taking my time. Took about half an hour in total, if that. Really didn't take long to do. Did it on a Sunday live stream, and yeah, not too troublesome whatsoever. Like I say, we will have to re-go over them again after we've cleared, because the clear will fill the holes a bit, but I thought it made sense to do this now. And we got a kind of a pile of hole to follow later on. So not the best start, a little bit tedious to do, and yeah, a bit of a pain having to go all the way to Liverpool to borrow 3 drill bits. But thank you, Alan. And also thank to Hugh, Mr. Hugh Gordon, for sending me 3 packs of drill bits in the post. You're an absolute legend, mate. You got to excuse me. I have a bit of a cough at the minute, so if I'm coughing through this video, you know why. Like I say, just take your time. After they were all drilled, a few of the panel lines weren't quite as crisp as they should have been. So I went over them with one of my rescribers and just made them a bit more prominent. Now, you can use a panel scriber like this, razor saw, wherever you find most comfortable for scribing. But just take your time. Resin's really easy to work with, really easy to remove. There's a few spots on the body. Just go around. If it's not as clean as you like, just give it a bit of gentle seam removal, I suppose we should call it, until you get a nice crisp panel line. So like I say, 3 or 4 spots over the whole body. Once we've done that, we give it a wipe over with our old Mickey Mouse toothbrush to get rid of any dust and what have you left behind, and just a final check around to make sure we're quite happy with the body. After that, we're going to go around. There's a few little wisps of resin here and there. So I've got a 400 UMP thinning stick, and I'm just very lightly going around. It doesn't really need any real pressure. And once we've gone around and cleaned all that up, I've got a sanding sponge. It's equivalent to like TAMIYA's 3000 grit sponge. I'm just going to go around and we're going to scuff all the body up in preparation for primer. This will get rid of any surface dust, contaminants, any raised high spots of resin, which there really isn't on this kit. It's absolutely spotlessly clean, but it's a good key for primer as well. So lots of nooks and crannies on this. This is going to be a challenging build. There's lots of carbon. There's hours and hours of carbon on this, which I'll be honest, we're not going to dwell on today because we're going to do it, but we went all over it with the Porsche. I'm not going to sit here for hours showing the carbon and being done on this. We'll do a few little bits, and then, hey presto, it'll be on the car itself. So once they're all cleaned up and we've gone all over the body and scuffed it up, we get our toothbrush in there, get any dust or anything out of the panel lines, and this is the part of clean up now for primer. So the better job we do now, the nicer it'll look at the end. Don't worry about fingerprints at the minute because we are going to completely degrease it now with some UMP airbrush cleaner and our toothbrush. I'm just going to go around and lightly scrub the entire body. This will get any mold release off, any fingerprint dust, you know, crisp chip dust we've been eating, chocolate fingerprints, anything that shouldn't be on there, and just go around and thoroughly degrease it all. Our airbrush cleaner is alcohol based, so it will remove any contaminants. But just go around. Be careful of areas because where I'm putting that toothbrush, quite a weak area. If it's get the angle wrong, it may well snap the resin. So just take your time. Be very, very careful. Once you're done, get a clean bit of kitchen paper. Try not to touch the body now and dry it down. If you can't get in there, grab a clean cotton bud, like so, and just get it into all the corners and nooks and crannies and get it all nice and dried off. So this way, you know it's all fully degreased, not going to get reactions off your primer. Because it is cast resin, so there will be mold releases used in the process, and it's better to be safe than sorry. Like I say, the decontamination process here, the prep work, is well worth doing. Trust me, it's well worth doing. Although I'm handling it here now, once we get it mounted up in a bit, we can wipe it over again and it'll be good to go. So I find these tricky to mount. So we've got some 3M double-sided pads here. We've got some wooden tongue depressors, which I've cut to size. And these 3M pads are unbelievably sticky. I'm just going to stick one at the back, like so. One at the front, like so. And that way then we can stick 2 in the middle with another couple of pads, like so. And then we can put a big round one on and stick it to our receptacle of choice, which for us last time was an old UMP burnishing bowl, which we used on the Porsche. So that way, you know it's nicely mounted. I find the TAMIYA stand's not very good on the resin. The resin's a little bit too heavy. And there you go, we are mounted, well and truly mounted there. A quick detack over with our anti-static brush. And then we've got some TAMIYA grey fine surface primer. Decanted, thinned about 60% with with TAMIYA lacquer thinner with retarder. We've got our 0.3mm apex, so about 18 psi. And we're going to put down a couple of light coat to this over the top to get a nice primer coat down. So primer coat's quite important on this. This is the key coat. So we will apply probably 3-4 light coats to get a nice uniform coating. Loads of different angles to get on this. It's a very tricky body to paint. And it's going to be especially tricky to 2K later on, as we'll find out. But overall, just take your time. Make sure you get all the angles and recesses. And it'll be just good to go. You don't want to hose this on. You just want to layer it down and build it up. So I probably did about 4 coats in total. We're going to show the first one. Speed it up a bit now. And then come back for the final coat at the end. For the last part of the final coat, I will put it on a little bit wetter. It does like to go on a little bit wetter and self-level. I always find it gives a much better finish. If you do need specks of dust or dirt, well, yeah, you're going to have to sand that and get rid of it, and it's quite easy to do. Same process we did with scuffing the body. Just lightly go around with a clean sanding pad, about 3000 grit, and lightly sand away. And if you need to reprime, so be it. There's no rush. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's just whatever way you find most comfortable. But just take your time, work your way around, and the more cleaner job you do now, the better paint finish you'll have at the end. So there we go, that's it. You get out of it what you put in. Now, a bit of trouble over the colour. I didn't know what colour to use. I thought this was too light. We've got the Gravity 60s and 70s Gulf. We've got my 0.3mm Apex. And I wanted a darker blue. I've seen this car in a lot of darker colours, but after thinking about it, I thought maybe the proper Gulf colour would be the right choice. So that's what we've gone for. Got the UMP Apex at about 18 PSI. And we're going to put down probably 8 light coats of this. We use a lot of this paint on this because this car is huge. This thing is massive. And we've got all the different angles and nooks and crannies to get in. It is going to take a lot of paint. Now the beautiful thing is we've got no plastic to react, so we don't necessarily need to worry about really thin coats. Still need to be conscious of it though. We don't want to be hosing it on. But it is going to use quite a lot of paint, and we're going to build the colour up slowly. So I'm going to speed the process up a little bit again as well. But just take your time, go around. Like I say, we've got to get in all these little nooks and crannies, all those wheel arches, all those panel gaps, all those little intakes and what have you. So quite a tricky body, this one. Very, very complex. But just shows how well cast the resin is from Hobby Design / Alpha, because it is a complex shape to get right. Gravity paint going down. Beautiful as usual. Like I say, we don't get any reaction here because it's not going on plastic. But still don't hose it on, still have good spray technique, and just layer it up slowly as you go. So like I say, probably about 8 coats in total. I'm going to show this first one, probably the 3rd or 4th one, and then the final 7th or 8th one, until we're happy with the colour. And there we go, coming to the end of our, probably I'm going to guess 8th coat. We've been doing the spoiler and the wing mirrors off camera as well. Here they are here. Just a couple of light coats. Now we do have a bit of a calamity with the spoiler at the end, as in we drop it on the floor because it decided to ping off its cocktail stick mount as it was halfway through being 2K'd. So we'll deal with that in the next part of the build. For today, we're going to forget that happened and crack on with the build. There we go, next day now. What a beautiful colour, nice paint job as well. So there we go, they're ready to go. They've cured overnight. We've got some of the decals to do. We've got some tricky decals to do, nothing really that technical, but some we need to pay attention for. So again, we're not going to dwell on every single one because we'll be here all day, but basically same process for them all. We've got warm water on my heated decal tray. Decal is put in there for 10 seconds. Off it comes, we position it exactly where it needs to go. Once we're happy, we get any moisture behind it and hit it with, we're going to go straight to the strong UMP decal solution today. and then hit it with the extra strong at the end to get it in place. Give a little bit of heat off our heat gun, and we'll do that for every single decal all the way around the car. Nice and simple, really. You've seen me do this 100 times, so nothing too tricky, and I have specialised videos on decaling on the channel should you need to have a look. Definitely finding the heat makes a huge difference. Really, really does. It is, yeah, it's adding a whole faster dimension to the decal, speeds up the process immensely, and really helping to get some of the trickier parts to conform. You need to be careful, especially on resin. I don't know how far you can push resin. It's something I need to test on a scrap piece where they just warp and go all horrendous, or what does it do? I don't know, but a little bit of gentle heat. These heat guns from Amazon, they are linked in my description below, and all my products are wonderful. Alan put us onto these, Mr. Parker, and they are proven very, very useful at speeding up the process. You can see on that decal on the roof, it's already conforming nicely to the panel line. So the decal solution's doing the job, and the heat helping tremendously there as well. Front decal, the Gulf logo is in 3 parts. Little bit tricky to do this one, and this is where the heat gun pays for itself, because it really helped to conform it. Once the decals went on for about an hour, roughly, these have been about an hour now, we come with a brand new blade and our TAMIYA knife and gently score and slice the panel line, and then load our brush up with some strong UMP decal solution, get it in that panel line, and then dab, 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 and that will push down the decal into the panel line, which is how it would be on the real thing. And then we can get our panel line washing it as well, and it'll make it look a lot better. So just dab, dab, dab gently, pushing it down, and then the same for everywhere else. Just a very gentle cut along the panel line. You need great care here because it's very easy to slip. If you're not confident in doing it, maybe leave it be, but I always like to settle them into the panel lines because you've got much less risk of the clear coat getting underneath and lifting the decal. And trust me, that does happen. Been there, done it before. Rest of the decals, really straightforward. No issues at all. Hobby Design decals are beautiful. Never have an issue with them. They go down well. They're just almost perfect decals. Some of the best I've used. And again, just following the call outs. I've got 2 lovely pictures on my monitors of this car as reference, and it's really helpful to look at. Now, on these rear intakes here, I want to do a little bit of carbon. So the way I did it, I've done one side already, is a little bit of masking tape on one side and using a pointed cotton bud with a bit of rogue carbon decal film. We're going to mark out the panel lines, scribe that in with a cocktail stick, and then get our sharp knife and cut it out. And then we can pop that on the carbon film and get a template out of it that way. Now, the carbon film I'm using today is TAMIYA's. It's the TAMIYA twill weave ending in 82. I think it's 16086. I think the number is. Whichever one it is, it's only do 4, and it's the one ending in 82. All right. It's smaller scale than what we used on the Porsche. I think it was a little bit large, and I kind of regret that now a little bit. But this is the first time using it. Quite impressed. It's certainly been put through its paces on this, and it did work really well. We used a whole 1.5 sheets on this car in the end. There was that much carbon, but making a template like this makes life a little bit easier. So once you've cut it, scored it, cut it, we can take it off, pop it on an appropriate piece of carbon. One advice to do is make sure you got the carbon orientated the right way. I like to do the carbon so it's always crossing diagonally through the part rather than straight down or straight across. It looks more natural that way, and I think that's the way carbon goes on for strength anyway. And then we just stuck it on the right side of the carbon film. If you do it the other way, it'd be mirrored, it'd be wrong. And then we're going to cut round with our TAMIYA decal tweezers. My God, it'd be good tweezers, wouldn't they, if they cut it? And then gently peel off this. Have a quick measure up. Don't forget to leave an overhang, which we need to fold it underneath. In our nice warm water. Warm water is a game changer with decals as well. Trust me, it really is. Not only does it get them off the backing paper a lot quicker, I find it makes them conform a lot easier as well. Whether you do, I don't know. If you do, let me know in the comments down below. I find it a real game changer. And again, hitting it with our decal solutions, just make sure those panel lines are lined up. The rest of it we can get to as we want. And then remove any excess solution, get it all bedded down. And then probably need a little slit on the edges where that fold over is going. And we can wrap it around, hit it with a bit of heat, and then hit it with the decal solutions, and it'll all set itself in place. Like I say, you will need to put a little kind of snip in there. I'm just going to make sure, there we go. So we cut it. It's a bit more of an appropriate size. And then if we just gentle, use your brush, and just prod, wipe, prod, wipe, other various things like this. You'll get it around the corner and underneath, and there we go. And again, finally remove any decal solutions. And there we go. Easy bit of carboning. That there is the easiest carbon we will do on this entire car. The rest of it was 2 days of sheer hell. Okay? I had loads of footage of me doing it. And after the Porsche, I'll be honest, I didn't want to show it. So we'll show the process I used. Exactly the same as the Porsche in the last series. These are the two simplest bits we did. I've got to say the TAMIYA decal films go down really, really well. They look really good. And then this on the front was tricky as well. Now the rest of them we're going to do off camera. There's probably a good 18 separate pieces to carbon. Yes, it was very tedious. Took me at least a good couple of days. God knows how many hours. But on the front, we put this one piece on. We've scored it into the panel line. We probably should have made a template. It would have been a bit easier. But to be honest, I did it this way and it worked just as well. And there we go. And again, hit it with a strong solution. Get it into that panel line. And then we can remove the excess decal as we go. Now the front's going to be pieced. And as I said before, if you line up the weave, and once you clear it, you can't even really notice the wallpaper kind of matches, if you know what I mean. So it is easy to do. It's just very tricky and very, very time consuming, trust me. Like I say, lots of different pieces on this front bit. I'm using the reference pictures I've got on my monitor. And then we're going to cut pieces, angle them to size, make sure we've got the weave the correct way. And it is a lot of trial and error. You are going to waste quite a bit of the film. You see some wasted pieces at the top I've got there. It's just the way it is. It's a bit of a pain. But is it worth it? Yeah, because I think the carbon looks really good. It looks better than boring all black. It's just a case of a lot of patience required. And a little bit of decaling skill as well. It will certainly make you a better person at decaling. As you can see, I'm just lining this up so with a little bit of overlap. Like I say, perseverance and patience is a virtue you need for this. There's no way around it. And like I say, I had hours. This is a half-hour video made from 15 hours worth of footage. And I thought, you know what? I showed it all on the Porsche as much as I could. I don't want to do it in this. So as we're doing this, piecing it is exactly how we're going to do every other single piece of carbon on this car. They're too complex a shape to get in one piece, most of them. So you are going to have to piece them. And heat makes a world of difference. As you can see here, we've got this near front section all done now using reference pictures. It's a lot of work. Trust me, it is a lot of work. And it is very, very tedious. But I think it's worth doing. Whether you do, it's something you need to decide. But for me, it's kind of a sick addiction I've got, I would say it is. And there we go, that is it done. So panel line wash. Now we've got a very prominent black, I'm going to guess it's sealant, is it, on the wheel arches, on the body kit. So we're going to add this with TAMIYA black panel line wash over them. And then for the rest of the body panels, all the natural door seams, what have you, we'll mix it with a little bit of grey so we've got a slightly less darker. But look at real pictures of the car, it's very, very dark, prominent. Looks like a kind of sealant to me, like tiger seal, that kind of stuff. So that's what we're going to try and replicate here. I sped it up because, again, it's a very tedious part of this, but we literally found all the panel lines on the body kit, then mixing a bit of grey for all the door shuts and natural panel lines on the car. Leave a half an hour or so, get a bit of clean kitchen paper, and wipe off all the excess wash. Now, I told you before, if you think you've got it off, check again later. I made this huge mistake at the end, and just as I finish the first pass of the tack coat on the 2K, I spot a load of splats I've missed on the rear end. You can see them now. You can see them on that leading edge corner at the back. I missed those and 2K over them. So when we finish the car, we might chuck a little bit of carbon on there to hide my mistake. But hey, it's one of them. Do as I say, not as I do, because I haven't listened to my own advice, which is part of the course. If you have trouble removing the wash, a little bit of Aventador odorless mineral spirits from Winsor & Newton is ideal, or anything else you've pre-tested for removing enamel washes. But take your time and don't be too aggressive. These are all the other parts that need carboning. There is loads. They're tiny. They're some of the most awkward shapes in the world to do. The exhaust, I'm not sure what to do with the exhaust yet. Is the exhaust carbon? I don't know. I need to look into this for part probably 4 or 5 later on. The worst part of all is this bloody rear diffuser on the back. This thing now. That was an absolute nightmare to do. Probably about 30 pieces on that in the end to get it all done. So I've cleaned them all up, degreased them all, and primed them all in Mr. Surfacer 1500 Black. And here we go. Here's 1 or 2 pieces that I've done, pieced and cobbled together with various bits of decal. It's driven me nuts. It drives me nuts, but this was at least 2 days. This whole video has taken 8 days in total to film. And when you bear in mind that is a day to paint the car blue from scratch, half a day to decal it, probably a whole day to paint and decal, and then 40 minutes to 2K. The rest of that time was spent 2K carboning, sorry. So it's a lot of time. It's probably, I don't know, it's hard to say, but it's been a long, slow process to say the least. This is how we do it. We just literally piece it together, use the twill weave to kind of match like you do matching wallpapers. And if you do that, once it's 2K, you won't even notice it. Now, I didn't even get me gluing the parts on. So we've got the side skirts on, we've got the rear diffuser on, we've got the fuel filler cap on, and we've got the little inserts on the front of the bonnet hood there as well. And the air intakes are in underneath those bits we carboned on the body as well. No idea what happened. I'm pretty sure I filmed it. Can't find the footage, but hey, what happened happens. So we're in here, we've wet our spray booth. We've got a 2K, we've got the Gravity 2K Spain, we've got our 3-to-1-to-1 mix as usual. We've got our UMP Apex 0.2mm needle at about 24 psi. We're going to put a tack coat down, a semi-wet coat, and then for our last coats, what I've been doing lately, and we forgot to do on the Ferrari because I'm an idiot, is we're going to just put down lighter coats, put it down for 5 minutes, pick it back up, lighter coats. So we're going to put the equivalent of a heavier coat on at the end, but in 2 or 3 lighter coats. So it's fairly simple to do, and I'm finding I'm getting a better finish. Now, because of the complexity of the shape of this thing and the sheer size, trust me, it's a huge car. Massive. It's a tricky one to 2K, and this is quite daunting to do. So a little bit of concentration needed here. We've got to make sure all the carbon is adequately cleared. We've got to make sure all those nooks and crannies, all the little intakes and the scoops are done. So it's probably gone a little bit thicker than it should have, but I'd rather get it thicker and get the gloss. It's easy to take it back and get it back to a higher shine than get an orange peel finish flatted and to a high shine. So it looks a little bit thick at the end. Don't be worrying. We can flat that back and get it looking a bit more natural near the end. But again, tricky one to do. So many angles, so many nooks and crannies. There really is. Like I say, an absolute calamity. The rear spoiler was held in with a cocktail stick in the side of it where I drilled a hole. I contemplated gluing it. Thought, no. As you're spraying this, if you know it, your left hand gets sticky as hell from the overspray. Hence why I'm double gloved. It kind of got stuck to the cocktail stick and pinged, and the spoiler flew off with fresh 2K on, landed on the floor, and it picked up a load of fluff. Not a huge amount, but enough for it to be of a concern. So what I'm going to do with it yet, I don't know, but we're going to at least have to flat it and re-clear it. So It's something we'll deal with later on because I don't want to think about it now. So dust coat's down, tack coat's down, left for 10 minutes. We're coming in now with a semi-wet coat. So we're going to get a slightly orange peel coat on this one. Not a problem at all. This is all in preparation for the final wetter coats together. But as you can see, we're getting a really nice gloss coat already. But this is a very, very tricky body shell to paint because of all those nooks and crannies, intakes, all the scoops and everything. Very, very tricky. And of course, we are painting the mirrors and the spoiler off to the side as well. And this is coat number, let me see. Which one's this? I think this is coat number 3. So we're coming in now, slowed it down a little bit. It's not going on as heavy, and we're just putting it down lightly. We don't want any runs. It's the worst thing we can get. We had runs on the 250 GTO because I wasn't paying attention. On this one, I wanted to especially make sure we didn't get any runs, and thankfully we didn't. We flicked a spoiler on the floor, but we didn't get any 2K runs, so it's a win-win loss for me. But we'll fix the spoiler. It's no problem at all. Now, we do get a few spots of dust land in there, which is almost inevitable with 2K. It's literally the proverbial stuffed to a blanket. So it's just something you've got to deal with as you go along with the build. We can flat it and polish it out later on. At this stage, on the really wet coat, if you get any hairs landing there and you're careful with tweezers, you can get out. So that's the third coat down. That's been put back in the box for about 2 minutes. I brought it back out, had a little look, thought, yeah, I could do a little bit more. We're just lightly misting on a very, very thin coat. It looks like it's a lot. Honestly, it's not a lot at all. And we're just misting it on and building up that final wet coat for our flawless finish slowly. Because don't forget, with 2K, what you get at the end is what you're left with. Honestly, it is. So if you've got orange peel, you'll have orange peel when it dries. So you want it to be like a glass. If it's a little bit thick, don't worry, because you can flat it back once it's done and give it a good polish up to bring the shine back. I'd rather have too much than too little, but you don't want runs. Runs are a pain. Again, back in the box for a couple of minutes. Bring it back, have a look. It's almost there. It's almost looking flawless. So just a little bit of very light coat now. It's very little going down, hardly anything. This probably does still equate to 3 wet coat. Well, sorry, 1 tack coat and 2 wet coats. I'm just doing this final coat in much thinner coats to build up a little bit slower so we don't go past that point of no return. As you can see, coming alive now. The orange looks beautiful. The blue's darkened, got that nice hue to it as well, which is what I was looking for this car. And there we go. Almost perfect. I'm going to put it away for another couple of minutes and bring it back out and have another look and see how it is. And in fact, it was perfect. So I left it alone. And here we are about 3 hours later. It's self-leveled nicely. Like I said, it's a little bit thick in places, but it was just the way it had to be to get some of these areas properly 2K'd. But no runs, no problems on the body. We can flat back any dust. We can flat back any areas where it looks a little bit too thick. But overall, beautiful. Really, really nice colour. Now, obviously, I'm under 2 massively powerful lights in my spray booth. There's about 70-odd watts of light in there now with daylight LEDs. So when I get a picture on my phone, you'll see it's more natural colour, which is almost the colour I was after anyway, so that's great. So there we go. That's where I've been 2King lately, and here we go. There's some pictures of it. As you see, the camera does darken it a touch, which is how it looks. It's beautiful. There's no orange peel. We've got a few spots of dust, and there's a few areas where it's a little bit thick, but we can flat that black at the end. Overall, though, really happy how that's looking. It's turned out well. Bit of a shame about the spoiler getting flicked on the floor, but hey, it is what it is. It's not massively full of hair, luckily. I don't know how it's not, probably because the floor was clean. But we are going to have to do something with it. Whether we flat it and re-clear it, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But overall, happy with this one. Turned out well. A lot of work to get here. The carbon work has driven me nuts. There's still loads of carbon pieces to go on that we can't put on yet because we need grills in them and other pieces to go in first. So they'll all be clear coated separately at the end. But for today, I just wanted to get to this stage so we can leave it to cure and move on back with the Ferrari. There we are. That's where we're at today. How's that come out? Not too bad at all. Not too bad at all. 2K, fairly happy. We've got a bit of dust in there, which we always do. Like I said, it's a little bit thick in places just because there's so many angles and that on there. We have to make sure we get enough down, but we can flat that back, polish it up. The biggest pain on this is that bloody enamel wash on the back of it, which is a pain. So I think we'll have to put some carbon on the back, but that might look quite good anyway. So we'll see about that one. And the spoiler's got fluff on it. I've got a feel I'm going to have to either partially, I'm going to have to sand it back and re-clear it, or I might even have to partially strip and respray it and then re-clear. I don't know yet. I'll have to have a look. I didn't really want to delve into it today because I felt like jumping out that window and headbutting something, because I was like, oh my god, it literally flicked at me, missed me, landed right down on the carpet. Luckily the carpet was clean, so it wasn't that hairy. But yeah, it's going to need fixing, but it's nothing too detrimental. I could probably flat it and polish it, but I don't know. We'll play it by ear. We'll deal with that in a later part. For now, we're here today. I'm happy we're here today. And we're going to get back on the 250 GTO Ferrari again next, which we did part 1 of last week, I think it was. So there we are. That's where we're at today. Lovely kit. I've added 2 more to stash. I bought the Aston Martin Vantage. Lovely looking car, and a Ferrari 812, which is stunning as well. So we've got a few of these in the stash now. I think I'm getting addicted to them. And there's supposed to be some on the way from Alpha Models themselves as well, which would be a nice little extra if it is. So hopefully they'll turn up. As always, any thoughts or anything, comment down below on the video and I'll try and comment and reply back to you. And like I say, these are on area release now. All the videos are on 2-week area release for all the patrons of Tier 2 and higher. So if you'd like to watch these when they are done, because this was released on probably the 24th of April, you're going to see it sometime at the beginning of May. I think it is. So if you want to watch them in a release, the Patreon links are down below. Pick the tier appropriate you would like to go to. Tier 2 is the lowest one for a release. There are perks and what have you associated to each one, and you can come over and watch the videos as they are released on time. If not, just wait a couple of weeks and you'll see them for free. It's as simple as that. As always, all the links in the description down below, all the products I use in the video, as well as links to all the Facebook, social media, my Paul SM modelling page, off-air hangout groups, all that malarkey. And don't forget, on Friday the 29th, which if you're a release, you'll see this. If not, you won't. We've got our charity auction for cancer research. So you can come over and show some support there on Friday night. Thanks for watching today. Make sure you sub to the channel, click that bell notification, and give the video a thumbs up or thumbs down. And please leave a comment. Love reading all the comments, especially from the early release supporters. You're watching and not leaving a comment. Let me know you've watched it. Leave a comment, give a thumbs up as well. Alright? And I will catch you all in the next video. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.